I got some old timers in my stream. Yeah, I got a lot of people. I got a very diverse following, actually. It's really cool. Well, I say diverse following. It's just it's a lot of different age groups, you know? We struggle in diversity sometimes, you know? We got a lot of fucking trans people here, unfortunately. Not a lot of other demographics, just trans people. Kind of awful, but you know. You're 34 and you feel like you're ancient? You know, I've got a new theory on aging, okay? I've got a brand new theory on, like, aging, okay? I want you to tell me what you think of my theory. Because I think I'm kind of a genius. I think I'm kind of an absolute fucking genius for coming up with this. Shout out to trans people, gotta be one of my favorite types of people. Okay. Here's my theory, okay? So, this has been my recent loop for a while now. I want to say like at least 2 weeks I've been looping on this thought, okay? About interpersonal, one-on-one or whatever, interpersonal interaction, like personalities that we take on depending on the specific person we're interacting with, okay? And my belief is, of course, that, like, you know, I'm not like the first, obviously I'm not going to be the first person to come up with this. But we have particular personalities and stuff that we deploy depending on the person we're talking to. All this makes sense and is obvious so far, right? And a lot of that is kind of built in our childhood and stuff, where we have like personalities that we take on with like certain people. Like, you know, we learn a personality to take on with our mum. We learn a personality to take on with our dad. We learn a personality to take on with our grandparents, our siblings, our cousins, all that stuff, right? And we also, in my opinion, have like what I like to think of as we have our personalities that are basically, this is so not profound, but I'm going to pretend it's profound, okay? But we have our personalities that we take on with people that are more mature than us or less mature than us, right? And we have like our differences in those. And we change a little bit in how we interact with someone who is more mature, less mature, and like, you know, if someone is younger than us, we treat them differently. If someone is older than us, we act differently, and they treat us differently. And we kind of have different roles that we fill in the conversation, okay? All makes sense so far. It's nothing profound, you know? But what I think aging is, truly, okay, is not just that you get more experience than other people, is that slowly, more and more of the percentage of people that you interact with over time are the people that are less mature than you. So over time, you're constantly interacting with people that end up drawing your older personality out, if that makes sense. Because when I interact with someone younger than me, I feel like I have to be mature. And when I interact with someone older than me, I feel like I get to deliberately be immature. But eventually, if everyone I interact with is always younger than me, then I'm always going to have to put on my mature personality 24/7 because everyone around me is just going to be younger than me. So I'm going to just have to pretend that like that's going to become my all-time personality. But it's not really like I'm going to be changing whatsoever. It's just everyone else is going to be young around me. So that's my theory on aging. Yeah, the number of people like older than you only decreases. Exactly. And then eventually everyone around you gets to be younger than you, and then you have to always be the mature one in the conversation. You got to always end up being the mature one. And then that's what getting older is, you know? But then I also feel like, now I could be wrong, but I also feel like when you get really old, you kind of like get in this weird it goes like this, but once you get really old, it kind of like curves downward, if that makes sense. Like the wave kind of goes like this, because once you get old, you kind of get into this space of where you end up becoming more like, especially once you get old and you can't like exactly always take care of yourself perfectly, then you kind of can fall into the immature. Like you can kind of take on the like child role versus the parental role, I guess, if you think of it like that. When you get like, you know, I think of like my grandmother who like was obviously the parent, but once she got like, now she's very, very old and not like super like high health. Now she's kind of not really. She's like she's not really able to be the mature one anymore. And with my parents, it's like my parents are the parents. You know what I mean? It's interesting.